cooler conversation for about 15, 20 minutes and just inviting our emerging leaders across the region just to come and, while they're eating, break bread with us and talk about what they have on the horizon, whether it's professional or whether it is personal, because I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and it looks like you have helped me settle on where my family and I will be visiting this summer and perhaps early fall. But good to see everyone. For those of you who don't know about Focus St. Louis, we are the region's premier civic leadership organization. We have a collective history of 50 plus years. At one point, we were actually two separate nonprofits. We had an arm that did policy forums and community conversations, and we had another arm that strictly did leadership training for senior level executives. And roughly about 26 years ago, the powers that be in community said, wouldn't it be a great idea if these two organizations joined hands together? And they did. And the cool thing about it is both executive directors of those respective organizations pretty much put themselves out of a job. And I thought, wow, what incredible sacrifice, because they saw the potential of the greater impact that those two organizations can do together. And since then, we've added 4 other programs, of which Emerging Leaders that we're gathered here to talk about is one of our most oversubscribed programs, which is why we're also recording it. We also have Leadership St. Louis, still growing strong, that I mentioned. We're getting ready next week to announce next year's class. We have a Women in Leadership program that my colleague Shayla Ford leads. We have a Youth Leadership St. Louis program for juniors in high school. We have an Experience St. Louis program for new executives and their spouses and partners to town, and also existing executives who just want a 2 quick day orientation of what's new and exciting in our region, what are the possibilities, what are the challenges, and where can they start to plug in. And one of our newest programs is our Impact Fellows program, which gives leaders across generation an opportunity to problem solve, to work on significant community issues. So that is a short, quick history of Focus St. Louis and the work that we've done to date. Every year we graduate close to 300 folks in our program. We're actually getting ready for our graduation for the 21-22 class, and that's going to be middle of June, where we celebrate the lessons, the challenges, and the opportunities that they've had an opportunity to do over the course of their time with us. So I am really glad to see you. I'm really glad that I'll be answering questions, as do our alumni participants, about our program across the board. And now I'm going to hand it over to Shayla for some just if there are additional quick housekeeping that you want to announce to the class, we'll do so, or to the attendees before we dive into our interviews.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Yami. Again, welcome. We're glad that you're here. I'm going to share my screen just to go over a few important points of information that will be helpful for you to know. And then we're going to turn it back to Yami and a group of recent program alumni who are going to just, respond to a few questions, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. And we really want you to ask the questions of our alumni. You know that, you expect us to say great things because the program is great, but to hear from people who are recent graduates, who have their own experience with us and can tell you kind of, just what they think you should know, or what advice they might give you if you're making you're obviously making this something that you're considering, but also just thinking about timing, commitment, what you need to know that they didn't know at the onstart. So we want to make sure that you have time for that. And depending on time and conversation, we can continue either with a water cooler conversation or give you a little micro experience where you kind of go into breakout rooms and get to meet some of the other folks here. So we'll kind of determine that. But that's all we have. Again, we want you to keep your cameras on if you're so inclined to do so. Stay on mute unless you're going to come off, just so that we can kind of minimize the background noise. But if you have questions, use the chat. or raise your hand. I'll be trying to gather all of that or keep an eye on that. And like I said, Yami and I will be sharing the mic and co-facilitating this portion together. Can everyone see the screen now? I have something up. Okay, great. So you're here for our Emerging Leader Info session. We're, like we just said, we're gonna have a little bit of an alumni discussion, some Q&A, and the possibility of Michael experience. What's really cool is this past group, we started virtual, we did a few like in-person experiences, and this is from this past class's in-person experience. So they may remember what was happening that day, what they were doing. And then after class, they would have their own happy hours and social hours where they would come together. They would pick a space and come together and just chat and reflect together to just continue to build the bond and relationships. Yami, I'm going to invite you to, if you want to share in on this part, but we want to just tell you a little bit about the history of Emerging Leaders. It is now going into, I believe it's 7th year of the program.
Correct.
And we've had, I believe it's like 500 or 600 plus graduates since that time. We run 2 cohorts per year, a fall and a spring. And the size of the cohort, in case you're interested, is between 30 and 35, maybe sometimes it's hit 40. During the pandemic, we actually had increased interest in attendance, I think for many reasons. In uncertain times, those that are leaders step up and go, how do I sharpen and refine my own leadership skills so that I can be the best leader that I can be? And so we had lots of interest and increased interest during this time. So that's been really great. We say that the program is for those early or mid-career professionals, maybe new transplants to the community, entrepreneurs, nonprofit, government, education. We cross usually 7 to 8 different sectors in each of the programs. And so you get a mix of individuals that you'll get to meet during your experience in the program. Your time commitment is 3 months. We open with a mix and mingle. We have a 2-day opening retreat that is a half-day Friday, full-day Saturday, and then there's 4 seminar days. And then in addition to that, we've added something called civic action projects. And this is really an opportunity for you to partner with a local nonprofit to work on a challenge or an opportunity that it has civic relevance to our community. So we've partnered with a Red Circle, we've partnered with Food Outreach, we've partnered with COCA, United Way, Epworth. There's so many different organizations, but they all come to us and want to partner because they want to get to know who you are, and they want to get your ideas as professionals in our community who have a different lived experience and maybe a different lens that you can offer to said problem, right? And so that's a really great opportunity for you to not only meet others in the community, but lead with them and really help them on an issue that's significant to help our region thrive.
Ayla, can I interject? So one of the really cool things about these projects is you get project management skills, you get collaboration skills as a result of working on a range of really cool projects, from high level to full immersive projects that go on to really shift things for organizations. And because you are coming in, not necessarily having a direct relationship with these nonprofits, they're mostly nonprofits, you get an opportunity to come in fully authentically as you, with the skill set that you're bringing in. And the notion that I've heard described often as the power of the stranger leader. You can come in, be that neutral convener, neutral objective, and you learn how to give feedback to these nonprofits in a way that they can pivot right quick and start making those changes in a manner that they wouldn't have been able to do before. And these are things that you can put on your resume. And from time to time, we've had program participants that have worked on these CAP projects go on to serve on their board. And how cool is that? So one of our program alums from Emerging Leaders is Neil Richardson. Some of you may know him. He's been in the news a lot. And Shayla, could you give me Neil's full title as Executive Director, President of
St. Louis Economic Development.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But just
SLPDI. Yeah, something. I'm gonna now.
yes,
I'm
yes,
so
but
sorry.
Google him, Neil Richardson. He was a recent recipient of our Emerging Leaders Award as part of our signature event, sold out signature event, What's Right with the Region. And I can't wait to see what next he's going to do. Even after the event, if you see some of the initiatives that he posted that he was going to do, he's already doing it. And, you know, it's like Libby here, and you'll meet Libby shortly. She's a prolific poster on LinkedIn in terms of the work that she's doing. But these are projects that are going to be lifelong contributions that you're making to the greater good, that you can talk about it passionately. You can recognize the feedback that you were able to give that helped guide that organization and how you further develop as a leader. So I'll hand back to Shayla on that.
And here you go. Neil is the Executive Director of the St. Louis Development Corporation. I was like, oh my gosh, I knew it was a lot of letters and a mouthful. And so I wanted.
It's almost like a Jeopardy question.
It is.
You got it. Yes. Yes.
With a little help. Who is Neil Richardson? All right. Thank you, Yami. Again, the civic action projects are a complement to the skills and conversations and the development and growth that we're planning through the seminar days. And so that's an additional way that you are able to apply those learned skills, meet additional leaders in the region, and really, again, make an impact. Sometimes we can just talk an issue to death, but it's when we actively get involved and roll up our sleeves and add to the solution that is the rewarding part. And that's what the emerging leaders have the opportunity to do through those partnerships with our Civic Action Project champions and hosts. The other thing that I want to mention to you is that you know, part of those outcomes, again, are just that sense of engagement with the region, getting to know others in various sectors. We know that some of our graduates partner on some additional work that when they find that they have like values and like issues or causes that are either their passion or pain points, they come together. And of course, we offer a toolbox so that you can just continue to be actively engaged in the region. What I like to say that emerging leaders do is they focus on their self as a leader, leading with others, like in community or at work in corporation, but then also in community. So it's leading self, leading with others, leading in community is kind of how we think about that, the seminars and the skills that we help you to build and or to grow or enhance. All of our days are interactive, and you really get an immersive experience. And it really is to help you think about what is your experience? Are you self-aware? How do you reflect? And so we use something called the what, so what, now what? And really that's just about what did we see? What did we do? Who did we hear from? What does that mean to us? So what does it mean? And then now what is, how will you apply what you've learned or what you now know differently to help the community or the region to thrive? So what is next? Who should apply for this program? There's a lot on this screen. You should apply. That's all I'm going to say. It's you. If you have an interest, if you identify as a leader and you care about our region, even if this is your hometown or you're new to it, you're who we want. All of us at Focus believe that every citizen is a leader and has the potential to make a significant contribution and impact. It's really helping people find that connection again to an issue or cause that's important to them, or helping them to develop and refine their skills professionally, personally, and in the civic realm. So again, you are the ideal individual. And of course, your peers and your friends are the ideal individuals. And so when we go to our roundtable, we'll ask our panel to speak a little bit about why they chose the program and maybe who they're nominating or who they're sharing it with, because we know that through this program, the best way that we get the word out is through others by word of mouth. So it's the graduates that help us to recruit individuals or spread the word so that people know about this opportunity. Here's the program schedule. I'm not going to read this to you. You can see it, but it also is on our webpage. So if you visit the Focus website and then go to programs and hit emerging leaders, the program calendar is already out there. That's again for you to plan up accordingly, your schedule, your work-life balance or integration is important to us, and how do you fit in this time or make the time in your schedule for this opportunity, because it's about how you invest in it, and then you will reap the reward from participating. So we have the schedule laid out so that you can plan ahead and schedule your time accordingly to be involved. What again are the benefits from the program? We're going to let our roundtable guests share that with you, because I think it's important for you to hear specifically from them how they benefited most from the program. So, Yami, we're going to get ready to go to you to lead this conversation. But here's who we have today. We have Dallas, we have Nico, Jay, and Libby. I'm going to pin them so that they can be front and center on the Zoom stage, so to speak. And Yami will invite them into the conversation. She has a couple of questions to kind of lead off. And then after that, we'll open it up for Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing screen. Yami, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then I'm going to go ahead and pin you and our guest so folks can just see you when we're having the conversation.
Thank you, Shayla, for that quick overview on our programs. This is the part that I truly enjoy most when I get an opportunity to talk to many of our alums. Focus actually has a podcast, which because we've been very busy, we've only taped 2 interviews. So just wisdom of the room, I'll just put it out there. If there's anybody locally that you'd like to hear from, go ahead and post it in the podcast, not in the podcast, but in the chat room there. We will reach out to them and interview them over the summer. But I am so excited that our alums from our Emerging Leaders program can join us today. So I'll just ask you as I introduce you, not that they can't see your name, just to kind of wave at the masses of people out there. Dallas Adams, who is a spring 2022 graduate of alumni of Emerging Leaders, recently took a new job as communications manager at Great Rivers Greenway. Thank you for joining us, Dallas. Nico Krameyer, who is also a spring 2022 graduate, and you just recently got a promotion at Midwest Bank Center. Congratulations. I saw that on your LinkedIn profile. And Jay Nelson, who is also a spring 2022 graduate. He's working in county government, and I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to have him share with us so many of the work that he's doing to engage people of our region in helping make decisions and helping provide oversight. And not last but least is Libby Peterson, who's our fall 2021 alum. And you may have heard me refer to her as perhaps one of the most prolific posters on LinkedIn. I can only imagine what your TikTok, if you have one, or Instagram looks like. But she is executive director of Ignite Theater Company. So we are also glad that you could join us here today. So as Shayla mentioned early, the first question is along the lines of, what was the impetus for you applying to our Emerging Leaders program? And I'll just start out with Jay. Let's start off with Jay. Jay, what prompted you to apply for the program?
So my story may be different than a lot of folks' stories. So I've always heard about Focus St. Louis and the different programs and the Emerging Leader program, but I never really looked into it. And it just so happened that my late colleague and friend, Ms. Cora Fate Walker, she is alum to Focus St. Louis, and she often brought it up to me and encouraged me to apply. And it finally just got to the point where she basically said, you're doing this, you're applying, and we're going to pay for it because it's important that you participate in this. And that was quickly followed up by my boss, who also encouraged me to apply as well. And I've discovered that a lot of people that I work with are Focus alum members. So that's how I got applied and got started.
Oh, wow. I did not know that the late Cora Faith, though, was the impetus for you. And she is an alum, or yes, was an alum of our Impact Fellows program and had actually just recently met with the class the week before she passed. Wow, that legacy and that impact. Yeah, I'm just having goosebumps here. I certainly feel it and appreciate that she was able to do that. Thank you for your response to that. Nico, tell us, how did it happen for you?
Well, Jay, you'll be surprised perhaps, or maybe you know a little bit about this already, but I was recommended to apply for the Emerging Leaders Program by both a good friend of mine, Justin Krailman, the Director of Development for Food Outreach, who is a past Emerging Leaders graduate, as well as my colleague, Alexis Hershey, who's the Senior Vice President of Digital Assets, Lending, and Strategy here at Midwest Bank Center. And, I think about, my sort of leadership journey, and I have tended to sort of keep my head down. And I like to do good work. And I never thought of myself as participating in a program like Emerging Leaders. But I have such great respect for Justin and for Alexis that, when it was coming from both sides and they had not coordinated with each other to tell me about their experiences and focus and that I should participate in the program, I said, these are two wonderful, smart people in my life, and I should probably listen to them and get involved. And so I did. So that's how I joined.
Wow, that is cool. And I'm sure Shayla is beaming because Alexis is an alum of our Women in Leadership program. And she continues to do a fabulous job of helping us be be known out there. She helps us recruit tremendously. So that is really great. Shayla, we're going to have to send her, a virtual round of applause into the universe of, thank you for doing that. That's what we appreciate of our alums serving as ambassadors. So Dallas.
Yes,
How'd it
ma'am.
happen?
Hi, everyone. So focus for me, I'm a transplant. So I'm actually from Memphis, Tennessee. I've been here about 5 years. And with the pandemic, it kind of like put a halt in, like networking and relationship building for me. People started moving away. And so sitting on just like a staff meeting one day, my boss was like, well, Focus is having, all of their webinars to talk about their programs. We think you guys should explore them and see which ones fit for you. And I don't believe in coincidences. So I'm like, I'm excited about this email. I'm excited about the presentation that I saw. I'm just going to apply. And we'll talk more about that in the questions to come. But it was a great decision. And so I didn't really have at that point, I did have a Focus alum boss. And then I do have a lot of Focus alum colleagues here at Great Rivers Greenway as well. But I hadn't really known anything about the organization or any of the programs. So I am just so fortunate that I found this. It has been great. We'll talk about it later, but that was my impetus for applying for Emerging Leaders.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Libby.
Well, I am the founder and executive director of a nonprofit youth arts program. And like everyone that works in the arts, we do things decidedly uncorporate sometimes. So my impetus was a bingo card that brought me to Focus. In 2021, instead of doing New Year's resolutions, made a bingo card with 25 things I wanted to accomplish during the year, one of which was apply for something. And then Matthew Kearns, who was my facilitator, and I'm pretty sure knows everyone who's ever set foot in St. Louis, even for a weekend visit, said, I saw you shared that bingo card and it said you should apply for something. Have you considered applying for Focus? So much like some of the other panelists have said, it was really someone encouraging me, and it was a perfect storm of the right timing and feeling sort of disconnected after 2020 and the beginning of 2021 and wanting to connect with what my section of emerging leaders called a room full of baton grabbers. So it was nice to be surrounded by people who work in all different elements and just connecting with someone else. So I got to check off that square on my bingo card.
Wow, that is excellent. You know, you've just given me an idea of, well, I may have to edit this on the bingo card because I was thinking, could I post something from a cookie and possibly get the same response? But that's interesting. That is so great. So 10,000 alums plus is what Focus has to date. And 75% of those alums still reside in town. And those that have moved away, we have started to see them boomerang. So I love that notion of a room full of baton grabbers. I hadn't heard that, but really, that's the generation that you are. You're itching to do something. And when given that opportunity, you take it, you run with it. And that's the opportunity that Emerging Leaders facilitates for a lot of folks. So I am curious, and this is just kind of an open question to all of you, just in terms of your lessons over the course, or as you reflect on your lessons having gone through this program. What surprised you most about Emerging Leaders?
Well, mine was not related specifically to work. It was my capstone group became really good friends. We go to dinner a lot. We created a dinner of the month club where we try a new restaurant in St. Louis every month. And I hadn't realized one of our last sessions was identifying what cups in your life needed filling. And I thought I knew what cups were empty until I did that exercise and realized I was really missing sort of expanding my friend circle and meeting new people. And that has been such a benefit and a blessing just to have 7 other incredible women that I can meet with and talk to and sort of lean on and that we can support each other. So, I mean, the business stuff is great too, but I really liked the friendships and the connections that came out of my class.
That is awesome. St. Louis, for those of you who don't know or you've lived in other cities, cities are all about relationships. And when you have those relationships and you take time to invest and nurture those relationships, you can go very, very far. You know, my team and I, over the course of the past 2 years, we've become very, very close. And so we text each other, we ask each other's questions and ask, do you know this person? And someone will say, give me a minute, let me check the Focus database. There is a possibility that at some point in time, they attended a Focus event or a Focus graduate. And I have to say, 9.5 times out of 10, that is always the case. So glad that you were able to assess that within the context of what cup do you need to fill. Anyone else?
Yeah, I want to just piggyback off of Libby, if you don't mind, Nico. So it was funny that she brought up our capstone events, because that for me was the most impactful thing, or surprised me the most about Emerging Leaders. I didn't expect to learn as much about the region as I did. And I think it's because of the group that I had. And Nico and Jay and I are all part of the same group. So it's very funny that from the entire alum, you picked the 3 of us, and our team was really just such full of, I think the entire cohort was full of leaders, but I have also developed a very close relationship with my group, and we were perfectly aligned together. But we did a project for the Ville, which is like a historic neighborhood preservation nonprofit. If I could sum it up in just a few words, they do so much more than that. But the nonprofit located in the Ville neighborhood and in the greater Ville neighborhood focuses a lot on tourism to educate the public about the rich history of the Ville and ways that they can help to contribute from it being, the stories being lost as they continue to seek economic development in the area. But being partnered with that group, as opposed to something more aligned with my passions, like gardening, City Greens was also one of the capstone partners for our class. I learned so much about the region. As a transplant, I left with a sense of pride for a place that I hadn't even grown up in. I'm now helping to plan their trap run that's happening in September, which I will go ahead and plug. But I've really just found another way to use my gifts and my talents in a way beyond the program. And I think that surprised me much more, is that I was so willing to take additional homework home after the program was over. And I'm looking forward to continuing to stay active for the bill as an organization.
That is spectacular. That is awesome. So I'm a transplant as well. I've lived in a couple of different places. And I have to say, the beauty of being seated in an organization like Focus St. Louis is I know this city like the back of my hand. And I tell people all the time, and they my siblings who have lived here longer than me, they even call me. I'm like their map quest, their civic map quest. And they said, Yami, I'm coming downtown. What are the construction? And I just tell them what it is. Oh, you're going to that building. You might want to hold your meeting here because there's an intersecting point of other people across sectors. And they're like, how do you know that? And I was like, wouldn't you like to know? Focus St. Louis, check us out. But that's the beauty of the relationships and what you've all mentioned. Nico, I think you wanted to add something there too.
Well, I wanted to, reiterate what a great connection that we had in our group as we worked for the bill, in helping them onboard an executive director, helping them refine their video series that they use for tours. I think if Dallas or Jay call me and say, Nico, jump, I'll say how high. We have a fantastic relationship. And I'm grateful that our work for the bill, certainly for Dallas and I, will continue outside of the scope of the work that we were able to do as a part of emerging leaders. Thinking about what surprised me the most is, as I started the program, was seeing in the participants how many different industries were represented. And I just wrote down a short list, and I apologize, Jay and Dallas, if I've missed anyone, but I have HR, healthcare, banking and finance, government, nonprofit leadership, architecture, software design, education, marketing, and data analytics. I don't know if that covers everyone, but I was so impressed that we had such a diverse group of industries represented, and all aligned, people from these different industries aligned to do great work for our local nonprofits, because I think the level of expertise that existed in that space, we utilized it to a great extent, but I just think, wow, like this is just a fantastic knowledge base that's represented here. And I was grateful to be a part of it.
That is awesome. That is great. Thank you for sharing, Jay.
I would say for me, it was the classes, coming into a program like this that requires a lot of your time, which is a commitment. I was expecting to be like, this is just going to take too much time and someone's going to be talking at me. And so what surprised me was how that was not the case. We really focused in on a lot of heavy conversations. I enjoyed those conversations. We had a lot of hard conversations. It felt good to be vulnerable with a group of people and they be vulnerable back as you talk through the different things, which, as Nico said, with a lot of different backgrounds, it really brought a lot of different perspectives my way. So that was one of the biggest takeaways for me, or surprised me rather.
That's excellent. Thank you all for that. If you have questions of our panelists, please go ahead and post them in the chat. My final question while you're posting your questions is, what advice do you have for our prospective applicants here about emerging leaders?
I would say definitely join, get your job to pay for it, come in and be your authentic self, and more importantly, understand that you are a leader in this region and this region needs you. Focus is just going to help put that in the forefront where all of you belong and should belong. So also have fun, do the happy hours. I wish I got to do more of them, but do the happy hours, build those connections. because really the truth is in the next 10 years, this class will be running things in this region, and all of you in your different areas, it will be important for you to connect. So that's what I would say.
Jay, can we have that? I'm saying in the next 3 to 5 years, your
Yes.
class.
And for some
'cause
people,
you
1
guys are
year.
already there. No pressure. Just dive in. Yes. Okay. Anyone else?
My advice would be don't be afraid to take on a role you haven't done in the past. Again, you're in a room full of baton grabbers. Chances are you were probably the one that led your class projects or were the leader. When they sort of said what all the capstone projects were, one had to do with theater, and I immediately thought, oh, I hope that's the one I get, but it's what I do in my everyday life. So I did something totally different than what I would normally do. And it was a great way to discover things about yourself and realize maybe you've always been a leader this way, but it can look a little bit different in a really collaborative setting. So it was a fun opportunity to stretch and grow a little bit.
Great advice.
Yeah, I could add on to that. This is definitely an investment in yourself. So when Jay says get your job to pay for it, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I was coming from a small nonprofit where, we are looking at the budget line by line, item by item, shifting things around. Professional development, I feel like, is in everybody's budget, whether you know it or not. So definitely ask for it. I feel like I say this especially for the ladies, because sometimes we get a little bit self-conscious about asking for money or asking for time off. This is an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your organization and in your professional future. And any place that you are working at, or whether you work for yourself, an investment like this is always something that you can recoup on the back end. Another thing, to Jay's point about the happy hours, you get what you put into the experience. We were all in the same group, and I feel like, me, Nico, and Jay were all in the same group. Libby is a class ahead of us, but we really made an intentional decision to stay connected and to meet outside of our meeting hours. And that is how we developed like these close bonds and relationships. And if nothing else, of course, there's a slew of curricula that goes with this, and it is phenomenal stuff to learn. The relationships that you learn are your responsibility to make. So challenge yourself to get out of that shy mode, especially if it's going to be more of a hybrid situation like ours. You're going to have to speak up on camera, and you're going to have to smile, and you're going to have to really show up and be there because you want to make the most out of your investment. So that's my advice for you.
Dallas, that is wonderful advice, and I will second that. And again, I hope as everyone on the call, recognizes, that really this is all about relationships. I think being a part of Focus, the programmatics are great, the content is wonderful, and the speakers that come in are truly at the top of their game in their respective fields, at least certainly for our cohort. I was so grateful to get to spend some time and ask questions of Core Faith Walker and Dr. Sharonica Hardin-Bartley and Abdullah. I think, the speakers added a tremendous amount to the experience, but certainly at the end of the day, Dallas and Jay, it's my relationships with you, my connection to you, and our mutual connection for the bill that I think makes the greatest difference. I think that you two may agree with me. I think the world of both of you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that we had to do some work together, and I hope some of that good work continues.
Well, thank you, Jay, Nico, Dallas, Libby. This has been really great insights about the program, the lessons that you've learned along the way. I see questions. Ginger, could you go ahead and unmute and just ask that so we can bring your voice into the room and we get to know you?
Hi, thanks for all the information today. I was just curious about what the application process consisted of. Could I learn a little bit more about that?
Sure. So if you go, good question, if you go to our website, you can actually, do the drop down menu under programs and go ahead and select the one for emerging leaders. And that will give you information. It's an application that you can complete in one shot. But I would say from time to time, we have had individuals that have said, oh, okay, I started this. Did it save? Did it not save? That sort of thing. So my recommendation to you is if you are ready to complete the application, because it has a couple of questions in there that you need to be reflective on, I would highly suggest that you carve out that time and do it where you have minimal disturbances for you to be able to truly be reflective in a manner that captures who you are. We, the team at Focus, don't really do anything in terms of the selection for the class. The class is selected by alumni of the program. So if you go on to focus-stl.org, the applications are due by June 13th. If there's some of you who know of individuals, please share the information. You have on the PowerPoint that my colleague Shayla Ford shared with you what the program dates are. For some of you who might be interested in applying for scholarships, you can do so once you've been admitted into the program. And the tuition for the program, just so you know, is $895. It's often covered in part or in full by participants' employers. Use this opportunity to do a good job, or at least start to practice about how to make a case for yourself. And good point on that, Dallas. We offer partial scholarship assistance, not full scholarships. But again, if you go on our website, you'll see that we offer Betty Thompson Scholarship from the Kwame Foundation, Big League Impact Scholarship, and Dearberg's Scholarship. We don't offer full program scholarship because it's important that you have skin in the game. So that is our application process for that. So thanks for asking that question, Ginger. And I see that there is another question.
I think it was from Mary. What is that right? Mary, you asked about graduate school and is this the right time? And I'm gonna kick it over to the roundtable to see. I don't know. I think all of you may had already been in your profession. We have had graduate students, but how would you answer that, Nico, Dallas, Jay, or Libby, about the timing of emerging leaders if you're going to transition either into a new position or into a program like a graduate program?
Well, I think about our cohort and about our greater group, my goodness, how many individuals were promoted or changed positions, during the program. I think if your roots are in St. Louis, or if you are planning roots in St. Louis, whether you are in a graduate program or in some other form of an education program, I think this is a fantastic supplement to that will provide some opportunities that I don't think any local universities can provide in quite the same way that Focus can.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dallas.
I just wanted to quickly add on two things. Relationships are transferable. And also, I don't exactly know what the format will be this year, but as things start to go back to somewhat normal after COVID, who knows if you'll have the opportunity to participate in a hybrid or a remote capacity, because we had people who were joining class from a vacation, and I feel like that was so cool and flexible, like to be able to call in even if you were traveling for work. You didn't have to be physically in a place. I did enjoy being physically in place, not to say that there's a substitute for that, but it's a little bit more flexible too now. So it's like a double whammy. You can participate from just about anywhere at this point. Maybe I don't want to speak for Yemi and Shayla, But relationships are transferable, and all of the skills that you learn will serve you well in grad school, may even connect you with people depending on how close you are to the region.
Yes, I just was going to add this, basically what Dallas said, because in the work and the job that I do, it's a very demanding job. And sometimes, or not sometimes, most of the times, things pop up and I'm needed and my attention is needed to matters that are important. So there was a time where I had to tune in for class and I was in Jefferson City. So no, it's important, like Dallas said, those relationships and learning, that's important. So just it comes down to if you have the time commitment and be intentional about that.
Thank you all for answering that question. Alexis, I see your hand has been up. Thank you for being patient. And then you let me know in the chat. I'm like, you are up next. What is your question, Alexis?
Thank you. So I hear a lot of you all talking about the relationships that you build, which I feel like that's really amazing. But I'm really interested in knowing, what do you feel like changed about who you are, yourself internally, and your impact on your community as a result of this program?
That's a great question. I know for me, I shared with my group and I shared with our facilitator. Something that I wanted to get out of this is I wanted to be more of my authentic self. A lot of times I have to be politically correct or things of that sort. And so for me, I was very intentional of wanting to be honest with my group and be my authentic self. And that's what it was for me. It really helped me grow as a person and as a leader, where I feel comfortable saying, okay, this is who I am. And I don't really care who has something to think about that.
Yeah, I really thought that I went in sort of selfishly hoping that there might be board members potentially or ways to connect in that way with sort of a not so hidden agenda, because I put it in our very first chat that if you want to get involved in the arts, I have a great opportunity for you. My management style had always been really collaborative in nature. I love a lot of things, and one of our presenters said the sentence, everyone gets a voice, not everyone always gets a vote. And it totally changed how I run my organization, where I was really able to move into a more, I felt like I had more authority over the organization and I had to trust in the vision. And when everyone has a vote all the time, you don't always have the most productive working relationship, and it has allowed the structure at my organization to really change and grow. And we are poised to have our biggest hiring ever, because I could take my hands off things that I didn't need to be involved on the ground floor of every single thing. So it was really impactful, and it was one small sentence that a presenter gave that really had a big ripple effect for me personally.
That is profound, Libby. That is profound. You should write an article about that. Thank you for sharing that. That's really quite insightful. Yes. So anyone else want to chime in?
Yeah, I can describe that. I felt like after my experience with Focus, I just felt like I wanted to double down on, so many of the efforts that I'm involved in with my organization, Midwest Bank Center, whether it's Small Business Academy, pushing into communities. I think right now we're running a Small Business Academy in the Pagedale community, and we have a branch there in the Pagedale community. That's the first bank Pagedale has had in 65 years. And there are lots of small business owners there that are looking for resources from us. And education is a big part of that. And learning to access capital to grow their small businesses is such a key component of helping to redevelop neighborhoods that were previously in decline. And that work, the community and economic development wing of Midwest Bank Center, that work is what I'm very passionate about. And I want that work to go well. And I want our impact to be broad and also focused in neighborhoods that have not had the spotlight. And I think certainly working with For the Ville helped me to recognize that. Part of my work with For the Ville was utilizing some of the bank's resources to compile lists of business entities in that zip code 63113. And there's a lot of activity there. And I was initially curious, as you know, I run some of the financial education programs here at the bank, including assisting with Small Business Academy. There's serious potential for this. So I just I felt validated in some ways that the work that I'm doing is important, and I also recognized we need to do a lot more of it, and I hope that we can.
We are on our way, thanks to you guys. So that is great. Emily, I'll let you unmute and ask your question before we start to wrap up.
Yeah, you guys kind of touched base a little bit with the graduate school question. Just thinking of during that kind of 3-month cohort time, is it best to kind of stay in the same job that you're in? Or like if opportunities arise, whether internally or externally, kind of looking at that just in terms of from your experience of the capacity that you need to, you know, have the best experience within the cohort. If that makes sense.
I'll take this one on because I actually switched jobs in the middle of the cohort. I switched maybe towards the end, so I can't really speak to kind of the hecticness that comes with learning a new position. And I'm kind of grateful that it all timed out that way, that I had one more seminar day and then my capstone, and it did get a little wonky in my brain because I'm like, oh, I'm so tired from learning all day. Let me go and do this. But honestly, it was a gracious transition for me and my former employers. I mean, they paid for the program, but they were just as happy to know that, you know, I was growing as a professional and moving on into my next journey. So there was like no expectation that I would have to, you know, like retroactively like pay them back or anything like that. They were just so happy for me that this program kind of opened up opportunities for me to just continue to grow as a professional that weren't really available at the organization at the time. So I would say wherever you are, take advantage of it now. If it ends up that you get another position, another one of our actually, I guess, so Nico got promoted. He was a part of our group, but another one of our group members just started her new job in a totally different company too. So, and a lot of other graduates are like getting new jobs or were transitioning into new jobs while the cohort was still going. So it's very common. And it seems to be, I mean, it seems to be just a result of being a part of the program. So I think you should take advantage, Emily.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It's so funny you say that. Our facilitator, Matthew, said on the last day, okay, everybody don't turn in your resignation tomorrow. Like if you love the program and you're feeling things, give it a day. Okay, well, 6 months later, 4 of the 7 women in my group have different positions. And the 3 who had no intention of leaving have taken on different projects. We're either on a board or we've done something else. So, I mean, I just personally saw it as very transformative for everyone, but I can see where if I was an employer, it really does make some big, huge shifts for the people that participate. So everyone went in. I don't know if everyone was thinking they were going to leave or not, but ooh, it was swift. It was fast. People were making big moves, and it was really cool to watch them flourish in new positions.
Thank you both for answering that question, because I was like, "Ooh, I want to answer," but you guys answered it. And the only thing that I will add is, when I used to lead the emerging leaders, I would come in on day one saying, "You're going to pivot, personally or professionally. It's going to happen. We're here to support you. The cohort is here." So you have built-in support in a way that you probably didn't even know you needed or wanted, if that happens to be the opportunity for you. So pivots happen, and they're good and they're purposeful, and we're always here for you on that. So thank you for answering. I have like one more slide I just want to show everyone. And before I do that, thank you to the roundtable. Thank you, Dallas, Libby, Jay, and Nico for sharing. I knew that you all would just speak from the heart and be able to answer questions and share why you thought this experience not only was a good one for you, but that you would recommend it to others. So we thank you for your time and attention. I know it's getting close. I just honestly have one more slide to share. People are going to say, what's the next steps? And this is all I want you to know. The application deadline is June the 13th. So you can go online to apply. If you want to nominate yourself or someone else, it's not necessary, but it just helps us, make sure that we get them into the process and let them know. And so anyone that's nominated gets an email from us saying, you've been nominated, here's the next steps. Selection day, again, is by a group of alumni who come together, review applications, and make recommendations. That's June 21st. And then you'll be notified on or before July 5th. It's just kind of a crazy time with the holiday and whatnot. So I want to give the team and the selection committee enough time to make sure that we get everything in order before we do notifications. So July 5th is around that date, but it could come sooner. And then we ask everyone who decides to take us up on the invitation to participate to sign a program agreement. That's just kind of your commitment to be involved and stay committed, and that's due in July. And then the schedule, based on what you knew, our opening mixer is the first week in August. So that is what I wanted to share with you. If you have any more questions, you can feel free to reach out to me at this point. Our director is out on leave right now, but he will be returning in July. But if you have questions before the application is due, please feel free to reach out to me at my email that's on the screen, or just reach out to info@Focus and someone will make sure that we get back to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity to meet you today, to respond to your questions. I hope that you have learned something that you wanted to learn that also gets you to yes. Focus is a wonderful organization. Emerging Leaders is a phenomenal program, and you will get out of it probably more than you expected, just even based on what you heard from Jay, Dallas, Libby, and Nico. Yami, any final closing remarks you would like to add or give to our prospective emerging leader class for fall 2022?
So I have to say that I'm taking my closing remarks from Shayla's backdrop. She persisted, nevertheless. He persisted, nevertheless. They persisted, nevertheless. This is your opportunity to go to the next level of your professional and also your personal career. So thank you all for joining us. This has been great. And we look forward to talking to many of you, either virtually or in person. So have a great summer and have a great rest of the week. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, have a good day.